Hi friends. Whew, it's been a while since I've done this. Um, there are some exciting things happening around here at Redefining Love, and I can't wait to share them with you, but whew, I'm not quite ready for that yet. So today I was just kind of thinking about life, and specifically my crazy life. I was going to write about it, but then I decided that I'd share it in a video instead. So here I am. Uh, it's a big thing right now in the health and wellness community to talk about your why. I'm sure most of you have heard about it. What's your why? You must identify your why in order to achieve your goals, right? So that's sort of the theory, and I don't disagree with that theory at all. Knowing your why is important, but today I was thinking more about another adverb that I think is just as important to know, and that's how. Because here's the thing. I've spent my whole life living for my why, right? Like I've always had a why. Um, and I think a lot of us are like that, right? Like we do it for our kids, we do it for our legacy, we do it for the good of humanity, whatever it is. Most of us have some sort of meaningful why that gets us up in the morning. And if you don't, then by all means explore your why. That's important. But for many of us, it's not the why that gets us stuck. It's the how. We read books, we attend seminars, we do our best to follow all of the footsteps of the people that went ahead of us that were successful at doing whatever it is that we want to accomplish, whether it's parenting, whether it's financial success, in whether it's a specific industry, whatever that is, we work so hard to follow other people. And you know, there's nothing wrong with having mentors. I have some of the most incredible mentors that I am so grateful for. But at the same time, I wasn't leaning into my own how, right? Like, as a kid, I mostly followed the rules. And even when I didn't follow the rules, I was following the crowd. And then I went to college and I got good grades and I received scholarships and I married my college sweetheart and I had an impactful career, and then I went back to grad school and then I continued my impactful career. I built a house, I had a baby, all the things, right? And it looked so good on paper. And I definitely, all throughout that, I had a why. My why in my 20s was to change the world. I was going to save the world. And I became a social worker and a journalist and all the things. And it looked really good on paper, but it fell apart. And I was so confused because I had done exactly what I was supposed to do to make myself happy and fulfilled, and I wasn't. So I spent my 30s kind of treading water, you know, like I did a few more things right. I followed a few more rules. I got remarried. I had a baby. I worked for financial stability for my family, and it was what we needed at the time. And it's okay. I don't regret it. I learned a lot of things from those experiences too. So unfortunately though, because I didn't know my how, I didn't have my own unique how, it all fell apart again when I got sick with autoimmune disease. So I had to start all over again. So, so I always knew my why. Before I had kids in my 20s, my why was I was going to save the world. And gosh, I did a lot of cool things towards that end, and I might have made little ripples in people's lives, but it wasn't anything earth-shattering, right? And then in my 30s, my why became my kids and protecting my kids, providing for my kids, doing marriage right this time, and none of those things are bad, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with doing those things. In fact, as a responsible adult, as a mature adult, those are things you should focus on, right? But I still felt unfulfilled. There were still holes in here. And somewhere in my early 40s, I realized the why is important, but it's not enough. I needed to identify my how, and not somebody else's how, but my how, the how that is uniquely my own. I get frustrated when people act like there's only one right way to do things. There's only one right way to success. There's only one right way to write a book. There's only one right way to heal from trauma. There's only one right way to heaven. Woo, whatever it is. Y'all, that is bogus. Your way is not my way. My way is not your way. My how is as unique as I am, as is yours, right? So in the industry that I've been in the last few years, the coaching industry, there's so much advice out there. This is how you find clients. This is how you write sales copy. Do it this way, do it that way. And at some point in the not so distant past, I realized that if I don't do it my own way, if I don't figure out my own unique how, it's not going to work. Success isn't going to stick. And that the coaching industry is my area right now, my area that I am working in, but this applies to every industry. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Whether you're thinking about parenting, oh, but I'm doing all of these things right for my kids, and my kids are still, I'm unfulfilled, and things are still going wrong. Well, for one thing, when you identify your how, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have things go wrong. So that's a different discussion, right? But when you know your how, you have confidence in your how that is uniquely yours, and you've identified it, then those failures don't feel so much like failures. They just feel like learning opportunities. But it's when you identify your how. So I'm talking about the coaching industry specifically right now in my own head, because right now in my own head, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve. And here's another thing, isn't that my coaching hasn't found any success. I've built something kind of cool, but at the same time, it's not quite right, right? Like, it's not exactly what I want it to be. And the reason it's not is because I'm trying to follow all of these other hows. This is how you do it, right? And it's a checklist, and you check the boxes and everything works out. And that isn't how life works. You've got to find your own how. You want to develop a strong relationship with God, you've got to figure out how to do that within yourself. If you are listening to other people check off their list, you're never going to get there. You're never going to get there with parenting, with marriage, with any of the things. And believe me, I am in all these areas a work in progress myself. But as I have started in the last few years, especially the last few months, 6 months maybe, to identify my how, it has been a game changer. And that is what I'm hoping that I can learn for myself and then pass on to everybody else. I'm sort of like a find your how evangelist, because I'm really, it's a new thought thing for me, and I want to share it with everybody else because it's so exciting. So as soon as I stepped boldly into my own gifts and talents and quirks, because I'm weird, sorry, not sorry, things started happening. And I can take all of the online training seminars. I can follow all the rules, but it's not going to work until I start doing my own thing. And that's what I've been realizing in the last few months. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking instead of teaching people to identify their why, I'm going to teach people how to discover their how. I'm going to give people the tools to do life their way, not my way, not my 10 steps. I have that. I have some of that in my programming because that's what everyone told me I should do. But I'm going to give you the tools to do life your way. Tools like confidence, boundaries, accountability, grace. I'm going to teach people how their brains work and where your emotions fit into your story, and so that you can get out of your own way. That's what I want to teach people. So I created all of my existing content, my websites, my materials based on the rules of online marketing and online sales. And I still, somewhere deep buried on my website, I still have a freebie called 15 Stages of Freedom from Toxic Relationships. And you know what? That was part of my process because as I was creating it, it just felt yucky. And it was originally called 15 Steps to Freedom from Toxic Relationships. I changed it to stages because I just was not feeling the checkbox. Like, if you follow this, you will be free from toxic relationships. Not necessarily. Instead, I want to change all my messaging to say, this is one way to do it. Like, I just want to be really intentional about how I approach those subjects. It's not that it's not valuable information, but I need to change my approach so that I'm not giving people the impression that my way is the only way. I have a way that works for me. And I would love to teach you how to find your own way that works for you. And I have a way to do that. And for some people it will work and some people it won't, and that's okay. I'm not for everybody. Ooh, that's another big lesson, right? Oh, so it isn't that there isn't value in 15 Stages to Freedom from Toxic Relationships or the checklists. You might come across something and it just clicks for you, and that's great. That's why there's room for all these different voices, right? Like, I don't have to compete with other people. I don't have to compete with other people for relationships. I don't have to compete with other people for approval. It isn't a win-lose. Life isn't a win-lose thing. We've got to get away from that competitiveness. There's room, there's space for every single one of us, or we wouldn't be here, right? So all of my materials that I have right now are based on that cookie cutter marketing, online marketing method. And for that reason, it's the same kind of, I mean, it's got my own little twist on it, but what I was doing was I was trying to cram my Sarah-ness into a one-size-fits-all box. And that works, kind of, right? It isn't that I haven't been at all successful. It isn't that I haven't been authentic, but it was also stifling. In order to fit into that box, I had to shrink myself down. And there's so much more to me as there is to you, right? We're always trying to fit ourselves into the paradigm, whatever that paradigm is. And we need to have the confidence to do it our own way. So that 20-year-old girl in me who wanted to change the world, she's still in there. And recently I've started to realize that if I'm going to change the world, I'm going to have to climb out of that box. So don't be surprised if you see my materials changing in the coming months. Some of it will work and really resonate with people, and some of it won't. But like Frankie said, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to break the rules. I've already started, and it's so fun. So, so stay tuned, and I hope that you will join me on this adventure. And maybe it might inspire some of you to dig in and find that confidence and set those boundaries and hold yourself and others accountable, and all the grace for yourself, all the grace for others. Stay tuned. It's exciting. Bye, friends.